Stephanie, and it's Emily. I forgot about her. Hi everyone, Stephanie. This is Emily. And today we're going to talk about 13 Reasons Why. Again, it's our bi-weekly episodes and today we're going to talk about episodes 3 and 4.
So for me, I didn't really, from the previous video, I actually had never read this book before, so for me to actually watch 3 and 4, I got more and more into the story, to be honest. I liked the show a lot, and I felt like a lot of the details were coming out now about like the darker sides of the element of the story. Like in the beginning, it was never a fluff like series ever.
Of course not.
But it just like started off with a suicide.
Right.
But you come to really understand a little bit more of Hannah's motivation for why she even made the tapes, because it's a very unconventional way of leaving a suicide note, of course.
Of course.
Yeah, and just going into a lot of like why certain people hurt her and the fact that she targeted specific people, like that sort of gets you more and more engaged, because you realize that within the story there's just another story, because like you go into like Alex's thing and you see Alex now versus Alex then, and I think in terms of the flashbacks that really worked in terms for the show. And in the book itself, as you said, it was like a little disorganized compared to that, but I didn't think it really did too badly.
No, because like I was reading episodes like the second cassette earlier today, and one thing that like kept me very like distracted and a little confused was the fact that the flashbacks in the book don't really happen like as clear cut. Sometimes it's like a sentence, you're in the now, and the next sentence you're back then, and there's no like distinction between the two, that I was kind of just like, wait, hold up a second, like let me reread back this like chapter or this page again, because I have to make sure like which zone am I in. Whereas for the movie it's a little bit more obvious, because everything is right in front of you. It's like a picture, right? So you see like this is what's going on now, and then you see obviously when Hannah shows up, it's the past, because the future, the present.
She's dead.
She's dead. So it's just like that I'm laughing about her death very lightly.
Yeah. Just the way I said it.
So it was just like a little bit confusing, I think, on the book as opposed to the movie. But so I read the cassette 2 today for side A and side B, and that was for the Peeping Tom and Jessica's.
Tyler.
Yeah. And Jessica's in the book, and then the movie it was Alex and Tyler. So it was very interesting. What do you think about both?
Okay, so start off with Alex's.
Yeah.
I think what he did was the usual douchey, guy sort of move.
Yeah.
I'd say that, funny enough, I can definitely see why, like, before Hannah did what she did, some people might have thought she overreacted.
Yeah.
Because as awful as, like, things go with high schoolers, it's an unfortunate fact, but it happens, like there's always going to be guys who do that to you.
Right. And plus, like, I think all school picks, like, I mean, okay, obviously the categories were more like lewd, like best ass, as opposed, but we had superlatives in high school. It was like best to succeed, or like, that kind of stuff. It's a raunchier version. Yeah, it's like a raunchier version. So like at the school, so I don't really see like, okay, like it's not a huge deal, but then in the movie and in the book you really see why she like really overreacted, not really overreacted, but reacted really negatively on it because of that one guy.
I would say, you mean Bryce?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think like just because of the confined chapters that I was pertaining to, I think in terms of the story, it made me curious, other than the groping incident, why she seems to elude that this actually has a bigger effect because of the butterfly effect, in terms of like this is actually going to be damning me to hell kind of like feeling. And I think that was where I kind of got a little lost, because I was like, wait, what? I mean, like, groping is always like a terrible thing to go through.
Wants to be groped.
I know, but like it's one of those things where she says that like the way that the thing is that those two things may not have always been correlated, right? Because Bryce probably was always an asshole,
right?
Right. And regardless of the list, right?
It just gave him an excuse.
He might have done it anyway.
Yeah, it just gave him an excuse.
Give him, I guess.
Give him more of an excuse. Like,
all right,
well,
I'll give you that one.
Yeah,
but, yeah. For me, it was hard to figure out the correlation. I think that was what I was saying.
I think for me, it's like the butterfly effect is probably what will happen as we continue with this series, but the thing is, like, I feel like she can't really blame Alex either, because it's not like when he did it on purpose to have that butterfly effect.
Right. I think that's what I was saying. It was like the correlation between the severity of what happened.
Right. So I feel like her trying to like single him out, and then really be like, this is because of you. If it wasn't because of you, like, this wouldn't have happened. Like, how would he have known that he was the cause for this? Like, there are certain things in life that you make decisions, and yes, it was like a douchey, like, poorly made decision on Alex's part, but it shouldn't have, because like in the movie he's really like, oh my god, I should never have done that, like, I regret it so much, like you shouldn't. It's like one of those like high school like boy pranks. I don't know, I just feel like it's like for him to like for her to really be like to put the blame on him, to be like, well, this is why I died, because you did this and that caused this, and then that maybe caused this, and blah blah blah. I felt like that was a little bit harsh on Hannah's part.
I do think so. I think the difference between the book and the movie is that the movie, not the movie, but the episode gave a lot more leeway for Alex to speak on his own terms. Yeah. Because in the book, it's very much like whatever the tapes say. Mm-hmm. And then like maybe like a bit of truth from like, Clay's perspective. So the fact that Alex is actually a full-fledged character and he can actually react to what the present day is. Right. And you see him in the flesh, really allowed me to come to an understanding that it wasn't really like just that list though, like from the episode at least. It was the fact that he had abandoned her as a friend. It was the fact that like she had no one else around her slowly, by the point that by the time she made a certain decision, and Alex wasn't just feeling guilty for that list. He felt guilty for everything in terms of like not being there for her, not realizing that like by not being there for her, things were going to go so bad, so wrong. And that I think was actually what really drove him to a lot of his issues, because he was friends with Hannah at some point. And so I think the list is a detractor from the real issue here. The fact that like Alex was a friend who furloughed like another friend. And in their time of like really like not necessarily in time of great need, but
she could have used his support.
He could have been there more for her. And he obviously did this terrible thing, and it wasn't so terrible in the sense that it caused every other issue that came afterwards, but it was one of many things that he slighted her. And I think like she picked like this minor thing because she didn't want to talk about the biggest issue. I think that was what happened with Alex. So Alex, that poor man, that poor boy. But then when it came to Tyler, I would say that he kind of deserved everything he got.
It. He was such a freaking creep.
I know. I mean, teenage boys are often a little strange with their affection.
Is really creepy. Like,
go ahead.
So that one scene in the show where like she catches him like bare ass naked in his window, and she took a picture of it and she sent it to him.
That's true.
That was hilarious.
I think that was Clay who did it, didn't he?
Oh, it was Clay?
Yeah.
Someone did it, and I thought it was hilarious. I was like, now you know. Like, sometimes for the Peep and Tom, they need to know what it feels like when someone else does it to them. Like sometimes they just don't realize like, oh, this is not that weird. And it's like, hello, it's kind of weird, like someone just took a picture of your ass. Like,
I would say that Tyler was definitely more villainous to me than Alex. I think he really went out of his way to invade Hannah's life in a negative space, and still didn't realize that he had no territorial rights to her. Like, I feel like a lot of the, especially in the episodes as well as in the book, there's that like underlying like theme of like, what exactly is the role of men of like boys and girls, right? Like, as they grow up and come to age, like, do these guys really have any like do they have claim to Hannah the way that it seems like the stories are always evolving. Like
Right.
Bryce groping her, like that was offensive, right? But why did Bryce feel like he could do that, right?
Right.
Versus Tyler doing almost the same thing in this, not necessarily like as physical and as overt,
Right.
but he
In a
obviously.
more creepy way.
Well, it doesn't matter. The question still
Yeah.
stays. It's like, why does he feel like he's entitled to Hannah? That's so, like, to me, it was like, that's so stupid. You're not entitled to someone just
Right.
because you're interested in them. And I
Yeah.
think the same question also lies a little bit lesser, but still is there for Alex, too, because he was like, I'm going to objectify you. You know, like, this is how I feel
Yeah.
about you, and I'm going to use you to get back at Jessica.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it was like she was an object for their use, and once, like, she didn't want to participate, she always handled. She always got the backlash. So she was always like the off woman, the Scarlet A. And I think that is actually what draws me the most about the series, is the fact that like there is this idea of like injustice of like backlashes that eventually hit home more and more.
Yeah. So another thing I want to say is that like for most of the episodes they follow faithfully with the book. The one thing I felt like there was a lot of, you know, disparity was on Tyler's episode.
Okay.
Because the book, for example, never. Okay, there's two main distinctions I want to say here. One is, you know, when they were doing the trap to set him up, they didn't do what. Like, the book was more like they were just gossiping.
Oh.
And then they were like pretending to say like, oh my goodness, like what do you have in here? And like it's just pure gossip.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anything like negative. And also they didn't know it was Tyler. So like when that happened. And whereas the series, it was like they were like kissing and like doing things, and I was just like, okay. And I feel like, so that was one main like distinction between the two. Another one was the fact that they didn't know who it was. Like they didn't know it was Tyler. They kind of like asked around, and then it was Tyler who was like they were like, oh, what did you do last night? What did you do last night? And they kind of asked around, and Tyler's response was like so like strange, which is why they knew it was him. Whereas in the book, they knew it was him immediately when they went to open the window to see who it was.
The book or the movie?
I mean the movie. The movie.
The episode.
Yeah, and then like I also felt that the girl, whatever, Courtney in the series blew it way out of proportion. She was like crying. She's like, everyone would tell who it is, like blah blah blah, and no one knew who it was. Like even in like the series, she was just like no one ever found out who it was, even though this picture was passed around a lot. And I looked at the picture and I was like, I'm pretty sure I can tell who it is, but no one else knew who it was.
She said that no one knew who it was that fall. So it means that maybe.
She's like, now you guys know who it is. In the series, she was like, well, now you guys know who it is, because like obviously it was like her.
We'll see. I feel like there's something more going on with that. Like, you know how like sometimes like teenage, like the thing is, I feel like there's a duplicity too about Hannah. Like she's dead. Okay.
Right.
So I know that sounds really harsh, but she's able to judge people without having to feel the backlash. Right?
Yeah.
So she's offered herself that sort of leeway. Obviously, suicide is not good, but she's offered herself that sort of leeway. And so she's dishing out all the shit, basically, and at these people, and they can't respond to her because obviously And so when it comes down to the series, she can say whatever she wants, and you kind of have to feel like you have to believe her. But then there's a side of me where I'm like, wait, there are multiple sides to this story, right? Just like they say there's multiple types of tapes. So the fact that she says that no one has discovered that it was them that fall, I'm like, I feel like this was going to be put into question. Like a statement like that bold, because of like the fact that Courtney had felt like so insecure about it. I feel like maybe in the later episodes that might actually become more of a thing.
Maybe.
Yeah, because like I would say like that would actually make the series even more interesting for me, because the fact that like there are certain things about Hannah that are just as flawed. Then but you already mentioned that about her, so
yeah. So anyway, that's all I have to say for today.
Yeah, that was pretty intense, but it's a really intense.
But overall, like the series and the movie and the series and the book do follow relatively faithful to each other, other than a few like points, but. Yeah.
I was gonna say I love the 13 Reasons Why soundtrack, by the way. Like I really like listening to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, I think it's okay.
I think it's okay. Well, I really liked it.
Okay.
So,
Alright, well, unfortunately, the book doesn't have a soundtrack, so you can't really, you can't compare the two.
I guess, yeah. But I would say in terms of the episodes, I'd say that there was a good fit, and I was like actually listening to some of the music while reading the book.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it works.
Yeah.
It works.
I also feel like I like how the movie, I mean the series really goes more into, you know, each like person's side.
Yeah, I
Whereas
also mentioned that too.
because like the book is just like Clay and then obviously the tapes.
Yeah, so like there's a built-in bias.
Right, right. So yeah, I definitely, that's why I feel like this is a good choice for a series, and I'm really glad that we're doing this. But anyway, that's it for today.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to us.
And if you watched the series and want to share anything, please do comment in the video in the comments below. Do not give us any spoilers though for any future episodes. We'll be very mad at you. Other than that, please subscribe and like us.
Thanks, you guys.
All right, bye.
Bye.